Unfortunately, with all whatever is happening around in a societal and an economical standpoint in Pakistan, everyone has been on their toes fighting for survival and essentially finding out
Yeah.
different ways of find just go get in jugaad. There's always that mindset,
Yeah.
and what is jugaad at the end of the day? Trying to figure out different ways of solving a problem, and if the problem
Yeah.
solving is there, and if you're sharing that jugars with each other, I think you have the right learning mindset. You just need to make it more constructive and expand your horizon in doing that.
That 1 hour or that 15 minutes of someone's conversation who has been there, done that, or was through, or just went through that struggle like a few years ago. Um, even like a good tip or a good website tip कि यार इस साइट पे जाके तू कुछ कर ले तो कुछ बेहतर हो जाएगा. This changes a lot. And इसमें वही ना वो जो centuries वाली बात है, like डेकेड्स का काम ना आप 5 मिनट में कर लेते हो बिकॉज आपको वो घुला मिला हुआ एक बंदा जो है आपके हाथ में पकड़ाया. सो दैट्स जस्ट एब्सोल्युटली ब्रिलियंट.
A lot of people today are not getting the right job opportunities, not because they're not applying to right opportunities, because a lot of employers are not investing their time in curating the right job description altogether.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of employers, what they do is they find a job, they want to hire for a product manager, they go to some companies product management
Or
job
just
opportunity.
Google it, yeah.
They just copy
Yeah,
paste.
copy paste. Yeah, whether it's finding work on Freelancer or Udemy, whatever, Fiverr and all of that. Whether it's that side or whether it's someone finding a job in UAE or whatever remote work like proper company wala. In both cases, people are stuck at that number one spot, and people really want someone to like really उंगली पकड़ के ना जिससे होता है कि बेसिकली क्योंकि आपने बचपन से आपने कोई भी डिसीजन उनको खुद नहीं लेने दिया ना. आपने उनको स्कूल भेज दिया, वो स्कूल चले गए. स्कूल से आपने उनको उठाया, उंगली से पकड़ यूनिवर्सिटी में डाल दिया, यूनिवर्सिटी चले गए. सो देयर वाज नेवर रियली अ टाइम इन देयर लाइव्स वेयर दे वर responsible for their own actions, where they were, they had to hustle themselves, they had to, figure out or solve a problem themselves. So people really in Pakistan, what I really feel is that people really need that first plan, right? कि यार अच्छा अगर सही आपने फ्रीलांसर बनना है तो भाई किस तरह बनना है, और पहला क्लाइंट कैसे मिलेगा या दूसरा कैसे मिलेगा या पांचवा कैसे मिलेगा. एंड सेम इज द केस विद जॉब्स. लाइक पीपल रियली डू वांट टू वर्क. जैसा तुम कह रहे हो हंगर है, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली हंगर इसीलिए ना यहाँ पे भूख इतनी ज्यादा है. पाकिस्तान के हालात इतने बुरे हैं कि people really want to like escape or find better opportunities, and which is fair. So but people are really stuck. यार मैं क्या करूं, मैं किसके पास जाऊं. फिर then there's always that दो पूरा एक स्कैमर्स का लॉट है जो बीच में बैठा हुआ है, जो आपको कह रहे हैं कि यार मैं तुझे नौकरी लगवा देता हूँ या मैं तुझे कुछ कर देता हूँ या फलाना एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. सो
Keep learning from people around you. Keep learning from anyone and everyone. It doesn't have to be someone who is super successful. It can be people who are filled with failures right around you, because those people are the best people to learn from what not to do. You can learn from people within the same social economic classes. You can learn from people who are not in the same social economic classes. You can learn from people in completely different domains, completely irrelevant from you, but constantly learn. But on top of it, the most important is give back. A lot of people can learn from your experience as well, and you may not think that you have any experience to share, but you have a lot to share. Everyone has a lot to share. So the more you share, the more you can learn. And at the end of the day, the more dialogue we have, the better we are going to be as individuals and more informed.
तो मुझे ये बताओ कि जब दुबई रीजन में जब किसी ने कोई नौकरी लेनी होती थी, स्पेशली फ्रेश ग्रेजुएट्स ने, तो वो तो जब तक पाँव में छाले ना निकल जाएं सीवी लेके भागने के, तब तक वो नौकरी नहीं आती थी. सो हाउ इज योर प्लेटफॉर्म मेकिंग इट सिंपल?
See, we are sort of a community that essentially helps the students early in career in that way, right? And our purpose is to become one of the most refined talent aggregation platforms. And when I talk about talent aggregation, it's not only about aggregating the talent, but also nurturing it during that process. And we do that by essentially having 3 different products on the candidate side, which is one of which is essentially just career mentorship. So on a click of a button, you can connect with more than 500 mentors from companies like Microsoft, PayPal, Google, Amazon. And at the end of it, what you're essentially getting is that, hey, I like this person who grew up with a particular profile similar to mine, moved to Dubai or Saudi or whichever country in the world, and I want to sort of figure out how did they make it happen and sort of learn from their experience. Not everyone has their cousins or uncles to essentially
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
help them find the right opportunity, right?
yeah.
So I mean that is where we are essentially sort of filling the void for those students. Then at the second part, I mean, not everyone is privileged enough to have an internship under their belt before they
Yeah,
graduate.
yeah,
Or within the first few years of their experience. Even if they do, maybe they want to change their careers and they do not have experience within that particular new domain altogether.
yeah.
This is where we come in and we sort of provide you with projects, and projects, think of them as industry backwards, company
Okay.
backwards projects where you can sort of put out what you've done previously and what you can essentially solve. How can you solve a problem rather than just looking at the CV and seeing every new grad sort of having more than 20% impact on their GMV or the sales. But I mean, how did you essentially do it is the major
Yeah,
point in
yeah.
that case. So this is where we essentially curate the talent and put the right foot ahead for this talent, and then recommend you to the right jobs.
Okay.
Curious, the idea is not to spray and pray and apply to hundreds of job opportunities. You get matched to job opportunities, and you essentially take it from there on.
Okay. So just I went through your website. So uske andar jo what was interesting for me, I couldn't like really deep dive into it, but upar se hi sahi. Like so this had fields like data analytics, right? अगर आप वो पढ़ भी लो या गूगल का कोर्स कर लो whatever, what really matters is कि आपने उस पर काम क्या किया हुआ है. एंड सिंस आपके पास वही वाला वो साइकिल होता है, आई डोंट हैव अ जॉब बिकॉज आई डोंट हैव एक्सपीरियंस बिकॉज आई डोंट हैव अ जॉब. सो उसमें आई वाज देख रहा था कि देवर प्रोजेक्ट्स ऑफ डेटा एनालिटिक्स वे यू कैन वर्क ऑन दोज प्रोजेक्ट्स एंड देन एटलीस्ट शो केस कि यार भाई ये मुझे स्किल स्कूल आता है, मुझे अब हायर शेयर कर लो या देख लो. एंड आई थिंक दैट्स अ ग्रेट that's a breath of fresh air because mostly लोगों को यही मसला आ रहा होता है, especially early on in their careers, that they are not able to really showcase their own skills or talents. And I think you're doing a brilliant job. तो ये idea कहाँ से आया, क्या सोचा?
Idea, I mean, the problem has been there for a couple of decades, right? I
Yeah,
mean, we are not the first ones facing this problem. I wasn't the first one facing this problem when I was graduating. My other co-founders, one is Alex, who is Swedish Romanian, and the third co-founder, Merad, who is Persian American, completely brought up in different countries, completely brought in very different age groups altogether, face the exact same problem. So it's been out there. The idea is simple, that when the transition from high school to university is not the most scariest, because you have such a big support system around you with
yeah,
the incoming school, with the friends and everyone who's with you. Why should graduating from school and getting into the workforce be this hard?
yeah,
And why should it be so lonely? That is where Curious comes in and gives you that support system altogether. And I mean, just to bring it in perspective, this is pre-COVID numbers. With pre-COVID, we had approximately 15 to 20% unemployment rate within this Middle Eastern region between transition from campus to workplace. This is the biggest biggest globally, and globally एक बहुत ही मजेदार start है कि West basically calls this transition 6 months after the graduation period.
okay,
In this region, we call it anywhere between 0 to 18 months. So if you
okay,
think
great
about
sir.
it, with 12 months collapsing, you have a new crop that is coming out already. And
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
previous crop that is still looking for the jobs already.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, the problem is only going to get bigger and worse altogether. We need to find solutions much faster than it has been previously.
तो मुझे बताओ Sama, what were you doing before Curious? How did it lead to this where you are right now?
Curious in some way is my own story as well, though it was not my brainchild. It was my co-founder's brainchild, but
Okay.
I mean, I've been through the same problem statement as well. Born and raised in Karachi, Pakistan, privileged enough to move to the West in Canada to go to school. gone through the similar problem statement of, hey, you're good with numbers, let's do accounting, CA कर लो.
यार
And
मुझे बहुत अकाउंटेंट मिलते हैं यार, मैं भी अकाउंटेंट हूँ, कसम से मुझे सिर्फ अकाउंटेंट मिलते हैं.
so, so yeah, that was the problem statement, right? And I was like, okay, if I can get grades, hopefully my life is just going to be easy. And turns out I was again privileged enough to get the first internship in one of the nursing home companies in
Okay.
Canada, and I started doing assurance for them, or audit period for them, and I realized this is something I cannot do for the rest of my life.
Yes, for sure.
And luckily, I found that true understanding of what I really did not want to do
Yeah.
much earlier, and then transitioned out. But I mean, I was not the only one. When I came back to school, I realized there were a lot more students within the same cohort going through the same problem statement.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's a global phenomena for all people who want to get into accounting, transition out into financial planning and analysis route,
Yeah.
slightly touching upon it. Got an internship within that, realized I did not want to do that either. Then went into the route of investments in private equity and hedge fund finance. Again, got great opportunities to work with some of the best organizations globally. But I mean, it was not self-fulfilling enough. I was like, I'm rather investing in people who are bringing about the change. How about bring about the change yourself? And I mean, growing up in an era of when Pakistan, the last decade, has always been about, hey, bring about the change, diaspora
Yeah,
change, this
Imran
and that.
Khan.
Not only that,
Tabdeel.
but I mean, all the different
No,
political.
the last decade was about like, and that was like the diamond on top, right? I mean, that was
Exactly,
जरा
exactly. And
change
I mean,
करना है
everyone
कुछ.
has been trying to bring about a change. And I mean,
Yeah, but it was also because of the fact that a whole generation, basically Hamari generation, was growing up and they were
yes.
coming into the workforce and they didn't like what they were seeing, so they wanted to bring some sort of a change, whether it was moving away from 9 to 5s to entrepreneurship. Same was the case with me. मेरा अपना यही था कि जब ACCA मैंने किया, मैंने कहा भाई ये वो तो 3 साल के आर्टिकल होते हैं 1,000 रुपये महीने वाले, मैंने यार कोई सीन नहीं है, कोई सीन ही नहीं है, मेरी इससे ज्यादा वर्थ है. आई थिंक आई कैन अर्न मोर देन
I mean,
1,000 rupees.
it's about what makes you more content, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, as long as you are not content, you will never be great in that field. So
Yeah,
might as
for
well do
sure.
something that you really, really want to do. And it's a luxury as well. I
For
think this
sure.
thought process is a luxury as well,
For sure.
and we should be sort of cognizant of the fact as well. So
I think with it being a luxury, it also becomes a responsibility, right? Like if you
It
सही
is,
है कि
it
आपको
is.
वो
As
privilege
long as
मिला
you
है,
have
तो
the
आपने
luxury,
क्या
you
किया है उसके साथ. Yeah, that is what
exactly.
matters as well. Yeah.
So yeah, since then I realized that hey, the buzzword of startups was growing
Yeah.
when I was graduating, and this was coming out of the Middle Eastern region, and I was like, hey, let's give it a try. I joined a fintech company, very early stage company in Canada only, very small team. Learned a lot of new things, built a lot of many things, and I mean it was really really exciting as a journey. And I was like, hey, this is something that I really really want to do. But
What do
I
you
don't
think
like.
working? I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. What do you
Yes,
think working with a startup gives you, like
oh,
early stage especially?
it opens up your horizons like anything else. I mean, I was everyone I saw around me was more like, hey, 9 to 5, this is what you're supposed to do, specialization in a particular sector and stuff. But what I was not getting a flavor of was how do other functions actually work, and
Yeah.
how to make things happen. एक चीज बनी हुई है उसको चलाना is a different thing rather than building something new.
Yeah,
That is the hardest part. And going into a startup when I was working, there were 11 people in total. 9 people out of us were product and engineering folks. So it was only the CEO and myself who were working on anything and everything, which was sales, HR, marketing,
Okay.
customer success, you name it, right?
Okay.
And all of it fell on us. And I mean, did a lot more things other than numbers, which was the most exciting part.
Yeah.
then I was like, this sounds great. This is a lot of good energy being spent. But I really want to do something for the region that I'm from.
Okay.
And I fell in love with the mission of one of the mass transportation startups in the region that was growing up at that time. And that is when I joined them to lead their global expansion into some of the countries, which was UAE,
Can we
Jordan.
not name them?
No, we can. It's Swivel.
Okay.
So Swivel was growing is massively at super hyper pace at that time. We
Yeah.
were when I joined, it was if I'm not misquoting myself, $150 million company, and saw 10x growth within 2 years. When I
Yeah.
left them, they had announced their IPO in Nasdaq for a $1.5 billion valuation. So I mean, the growth was
Crazy.
exponential,
Yeah.
and I was like, it opened up my eyes like anything else. And I mean, for me, I was not necessarily coming from a tech background. I was not
Yeah.
necessarily coming from a mass transportation background, and I
Yeah.
hadn't spent my last 5 to 7 years in the same country or the region as well.
Yeah.
So the learning curve was steep,
Mm.
but I mean, it was just the people around me that were amazing. And then this is when I was like, hey, this is my true calling. I really want to solve for this region's problem statements and emerging market problem statements. And that is when my now co-founder Alex essentially
Okay.
was also leading the Middle Eastern region for Swivel, and he basically told me about his brainchild, which is now Curious. At that point, it was a passion project, never even supposed to be a startup. We
Okay.
started doing it on the side, and then we thought it qualified to essentially become a startup, mainly because of the impact that it was creating at that time as a passion project, and that is how we transitioned into one.
That's an outstanding story. तो मुझे ये बताओ कि like working with Swivel, what was it like? क्या और what went wrong as well? I think अब तो थोड़ा शायद bad scene हो गया, at least पाकिस्तान में तो bad scene है. तो
Yeah.
what went wrong? What happened? और क्या scene था?
Man, Swivel accumulated some of the best talent in the region. I mean, the talent that was building that company was phenomenal, and it included and that is also a part of me that also tells me that I mean, these emerging markets like Pakistan and Egypt have so much potential altogether. Because I
Yeah.
mean, the talent from out of these countries was what was building Swivel what it was. So, I mean, Egyptian talent, Pakistani talent, Indian talent, some of the best people out there, the most hungry people out there,
Yeah.
the Jordanian, Lebanese. These were some of the best people that I've coming and building the company. Unfortunately, I mean, what mass transportation is generally a tough space altogether. It's not profitable anywhere in the world. If it was, it wouldn't have been a public sector game altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of the toughest places to be at, especially what happened last year with the financial crunch altogether, and investors looking for profitable companies. It was unfortunate what happened with Swivel.
Yeah.
I mean, every company goes through its own mistakes and successes, and that's completely fine, I guess. But I mean, what happened was very unfortunate. But not only for the company, but for the region as well, in terms of outlook for a lot
Yeah.
of investors in the West. But
Yeah.
but I mean, hey, these failures are a lot to learn from. All the people who went through this journey, my peers in this. In the same cohort at the same time, are building some of the best companies out there right now. So, I mean, it's never too late to learn from the failures and the mistakes.
फेलियर से कभी नहीं डरना. आई थिंक फेलियर टीचेस यू अ लॉट. अच्छा, तो मुझे ये बताओ कि विद क्यूरियस हाउ मेनी पीपल हैव यू मैच्ड, क्या सीन है, हाउ मेनी पीपल हैव साइंड, व्हाट आर योर नंबर्स लाइक?
So, in terms of numbers, we have three personas, right? We have the candidate side or the user side or the student side, early in career folks. We have more than 250,000 on the platform right now.
Okay.
On the other side, we have mentors. We have more than 500 mentors from companies like Microsoft, PayPal, Google, Amazon that I mentioned.
Yeah.
And then we have the third persona, which is employers. We have more than 300 employers from the region that are actively recruiting from Queros. Constantly growing. I'll be misquoting myself if I was essentially putting a right number to it as we speak.
That's outstanding. So, so primarily you're focusing on talent from Pakistan and then from other countries, or is it for
We
everyone?
are. It's all over Minap.
Okay.
All talent from UAE. We have some of the best Emirati talent as well.
Okay.
Saudi is growing massively with
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
is happening in Saudi Vision 2030.
yeah.
It's
It's
humbling to
crazy.
see how a country can shift so fast as altogether. And then obviously Pakistan is there, but there are other countries as well within the region. There are some non-focus markets. I mean, you see people from Nigeria, people from Kenya, people from South Africa joining our platform as well.
That's outstanding. अच्छा तो मुझे ये बताओ कि like if um companies वाली side पे you're solving that you're bringing in the best talent and everything. Um, if you were not there, what was like the hiring process like, and आपने किस तरह उसको bridge किया?
Yeah. So employer side, the best. So how does the employer side, or how does employer find their talent today? Let's look at
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
I usually categorize them in three different ways. One is active search. You put out a job posting or on a job board. You get hundreds and thousands of CVs of
yeah,
people.
yeah,
Um, the problem statement is that you're basically looking for a needle in the haystack. You cannot find what you're looking for because there's just so many people applying for irrelevant
yeah, yeah.
job postings, right? Then the other problem statement is passive search. Passive search means I mean, tools like LinkedIn or other passive options. I just go out, put out, search for people, and the harder problem is A, get to them to respond to you, and B, if even if they're responding to you, finding out if they're actually looking for a job opportunity or they would be interested in your company. That is a problem statement. Then the third way is you go out and find recruiters and that essentially do an executive search for you. Unfortunately, in the target persona that we are focusing on early in career, their commercials do not make too much sense for a recruiter to spend a lot of time on. So, I mean, a lot of recruiters, because they are traditional businesses, they focus on a little more senior roles altogether. So there's a huge void for the early in career to essentially be found by these companies, and that is where we essentially come in. So what is it that Curious does? Curious is not a job board. Curious is a matching platform in that perspective. And how does that happen is, Hamza, you are looking for product manager today. You have an amazing idea. You want to build something, and you've put out a job posting on Curious. Through our integrations that will be posted on multiple job boards across the world, we are
Okay,
working with them.
okay,
We source the talent, but you won't see all the hundreds and thousands of people that apply to your job opportunity. You
okay,
will only see people who are filtered through and pass and essentially match your criteria of what you're looking for. So
okay,
at the end of the day, you're not wasting a lot of time just sifting through the CVs and trying to figure out who's the right person for it. You essentially get matched to these opportunities, but not only matching based on your educational background or the candidate's professional background, but also on their cultural values
okay.
background. And that
That's
is
great.
really, really important to essentially find the right hire altogether. At the end of the day, the game is super simple. As an employer, you want to decrease your time to hire and cost of hire, and that is why Curious exists.
That's absolutely amazing. तो मुझे ये बताओ कि like how do you see in terms of like अच्छा सो ये तो एम्प्लॉयर साइड होगी. अब मैं एक नया नौजवान लड़का हूँ, सही है, मैं आया हूँ क्यूरियस पे. एक तो फर्स्टली डू आई पे फॉर एनीथिंग और डू आई नॉट, मतलब वो वाला क्या सिस्टम है. एंड दूसरा ये कि लाइक व्हाट डू आई डू, हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू, मतलब आई अंडरस्टैंड द मेंटरशिप बिट, but like what else would Curious do for me?
I mean, in terms of commercials, we have the freemium side for both users
Okay,
and employers. So there's a freemium and a premium tier for both. And premium essentially means a subscription model.
how
And
much do
sort
you
of.
charge?
So on a student side, it is around $30 per
Okay,
month,
okay,
and on the employer side, it's different tiers
okay,
altogether.
okay,
So this is on the commercial side.
okay,
On the student side or the early in career folk, what they can essentially expect from Curious is, first and foremost, come and build your profile on Curious. That essentially helps our algorithm understand who you are as a person, what you're looking for, not only your education and professional background, but also your cultural background. So this
okay,
essentially helps us profile you better. Once you do that, you have access to all of these mentors that I've been talking about in terms of speaking to them and finding your journey. You don't have an internship, you haven't done an internship previously. Now you can essentially build your portfolio on Curious. Previously,
Okay.
you've always thought portfolio is for engineers and designers. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's for anyone and everyone, even for
Yeah.
accountants in that matter.
Yeah.
Just put out what you've done previously and how can you solve problem statements, and let's take it from there on. Because most of the things that can be done by early in career are being automated, but problem solving still isn't. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so problem solving is something that will be very much important, or going to work with the curious minds altogether, and those
Yeah.
curious minds need to come together and sort of show that they can do that. And the third thing is relevant job match. We do not want you to apply to hundreds of job opportunities. We want you to be matched to the right opportunities and focus your time and energy on those few. And that is where we want to get the best ROI for not only the employers but all the candidates as well.
Okay, that sounds well. अच्छा, तो मुझे बताओ, with the rise of remote work and all of that, and dollar mein kamana and all of that, are you guys helping out matching remote jobs as well, or is it just on मतलब क्या कहते हैं, on campus jobs only?
No. So we have remote opportunities as well. Some of them are hybrid. Some of our talent. I'll tell you a very interesting story after I answer this as well. So some of our so it's basically based on the employer. An employer essentially can choose to hire remote, hybrid, or on-campus sort of opportunities, and that is completely their choice. And students, based on their preference, can be matched accordingly. The interesting story was that one of our clients in the UAE, I went to meet them one day, and I was sitting with the CTO of that company, and then just trying to understand what their experience with Curious was like and stuff. And he was like, "Hey, have you met these two people sitting on the desk across us?" And I looked at them. I went and met them, and turns out those two were hired through Curious. One of them was from Peshawar, the other one was from Delhi. Both of them essentially working together on a particular tech stack. They both were engineers, moved to Dubai, and they were super happy with the opportunity that they've gotten, because now their lifestyle completely changes.
Yeah,
They're going to be sending remittance back home. So I mean, not only the solves for their family and the financial situation at home, but also solves for the country's or I mean small help that the country can get out of these remittances as well. So I mean, overall, this experience is super humbling, and I mean, it's not only matching people on remote jobs, but also moving them across borders and optimizing talent.
So, मुझे बताओ, what do you think the future of work is going to look like, especially with AI and stuff like that? I primarily cover AI now a lot, because obviously Pakistan में तो कोई इसकी information dispel नहीं कर रहा खास, ठीक है, हम तो अभी उधर ही हैं. तो so I see a lot of people, a lot of jobs that I can actually see कि replace होनी है, and you're going to get newer jobs like AI prompt engineer and stuff like that. So what do you think the future of work is going to be?
Man, so I don't like the word replace altogether. It sounds a little negative.
Yeah.
It's I mean, अगर आज मैं जो काम कर रहा हूँ is getting automated, it's not going to replace me. It just means it's just going to get more efficient for me. One of the very interesting things I read the other day on LinkedIn is basically thinking today that a lot of engineers' jobs or a lot of people's jobs will be taken away because of AI is like saying when spreadsheets came out, a lot of accounting jobs will be done as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not the case. I mean, as long as we as individuals are constantly wanting to learn and constantly wanting to upskill ourselves, and that is the biggest shift of thinking that I think we need to come up with. Most of the times, unfortunately, we think that as soon as we complete our undergrad or graduate programs, we are done with learning. And if that is the mindset, you are absolutely right that we are going to get
you're gone.
But if we constantly upskill ourselves and constantly want to learn from not only the educational institutions, but also from all the free courses that are available out there. But at the same time, from people around us, people have a
Yeah.
lot to share. As long as we are there to learn, I don't think anything is going to get replaced. It's rather going to get a lot more efficient, and we're going to get a lot of things done in the
Done
next
quicker.
decade which were done in a century previously.
Yeah, for sure. Aसल में ना यही this is the main, I think, with the internet age, this is the biggest mindset change that has come up, which is being a lifelong learner and being, on your
Exactly.
toes all the time, playing around with softwares and, whatever is going on in the world. And that is something that people are really resistant to as well, क्योंकि पहले ही होता था कि जी आपने बस एक डिग्री ले ली उसके बाद आप set. It was only, I think, doctors who had to really update themselves with the newer researches कि अच्छा यार ये दवाई नहीं, ये दवाई
But
नहीं.
I think, people in Pakistan, I've interacted with a lot of people in Pakistan. They're already, it's not a new sort of a phenomena for these guys. Unfortunately, with all whatever is happening around in a societal and an economical standpoint in Pakistan, everyone has been on their toes, fighting for survival and essentially finding
Yeah.
out different ways of just go get in jugaad. There's always been that mindset,
Yeah.
and what is jugaad at the end of the day? Trying to figure out different ways of solving a problem, and if the problem
Yeah.
solving is there, and if you're sharing that jugars with each other, I think you have the right learning mindset. You just need to make it more constructive and expand your horizon in doing that.
I think it's also the fact that a lot of learning, we just आप भी कह रहे थे कि a lot of learning happens with people. Like even for me, the podcast is about learning new things and new ideas.
Exactly.
अभी मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, maybe we can collaborate later, some point in life or whatever. But it's just like you get to learn from people more than these online courses or MOOCs and whatnot. YouTube का मुझे ये अच्छा लगता है कि you can be very specific about what you want to learn and just go away. But with the course, it's like it's always starts with like ABC, which you really don't want to do, and just average completion rate is that's 5%. And
Yeah.
we're talking about MOOCs from MIT and Harvard and Flana and ये and वो. So you expect कि इनको तो यार पढ़ाना आता है. But it seems like people are not. People really do want to. Yeah, like this आपने भी कहा, like once you went into a startup, what that taught you can never be taught
Exactly.
in a lecture hall, essentially. So it's
Yeah.
very important, and which is why I think the mentorship idea within your system does great, because that 1 hour or that 15 minutes of someone's conversation who has been there, done that, or was through or just went through that struggle like a few years ago. Even like a good tip or a good website tip कि यार इस साइट पे जाके तू कुछ कर ले तो कुछ बेहतर हो जाएगा. This changes a lot, and इसमें वही ना वो जो centuries वाली बात है, like decades का काम ना आप 5 मिनट में कर लेते हो because आपको वो घुला मिला हुआ एक बंदा जो है आपके हाथ में पकड़ाया. So that's just absolutely brilliant.
Like maybe you need to know the right questions you want to ask.
For sure.
That is a big problem statement. A lot of people are getting these valuable 15-30 minutes with one of the best people that you can have, and if you are only going to ask them for a job, you're basically stabbing yourself in the foot. You're
Yeah.
not really solving the
But
problem.
Usama, जो सबसे बड़ा problem, like so a lot of I don't have a big following anyway, but a lot of people who reach out to me are stuck up at that first step. Whether it's finding work on Freelancer or Udemy, whatever, Fiverr and all of that, whether it's that side or whether it's someone finding a job in UAE or whatever, remote work, like proper company wala. In both cases, people are stuck at that number 1 spot, and people really want someone to like really उंगली पकड़ के ना, जिससे होता है कि बेसिकली क्योंकि आपने बचपन से आपने कोई भी डिसीजन उनको खुद नहीं लेने दिया ना. आपने उनको स्कूल भेज दिया, वो स्कूल चले गए. स्कूल से आपने उनको उठाया, उंगली से पकड़ यूनिवर्सिटी में डाल दिया, यूनिवर्सिटी चले गए. So there was never really a time in their lives where they were responsible for their own actions, where they were, they had to hustle themselves, they had to, figure out or solve a problem themselves. So people really, in Pakistan, what I really feel is that people really need that first plan, right? कि यार अच्छा अगर सही आपने फ्रीलांसर बनना है तो भाई किस तरह बनना है और पहला क्लाइंट कैसे मिलेगा या दूसरा कैसे मिलेगा या पांचवा कैसे मिलेगा. एंड सेम इज द केस विद जॉब्स. लाइक पीपल रियली डू वांट टू वर्क. जैसा तुम कह रहे हो हंगर है, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली हंगर इसीलिए ना, यहाँ पे भूख इतनी ज्यादा है. पाकिस्तान के हालात इतने बुरे हैं कि people really want to like escape or find better opportunities, and which is fair. So but people are really stuck. यार मैं क्या करूं, मैं किसके पास जाऊं. फिर then there's always that दो पूरा एक स्कैमर्स का लॉट है जो बीच में बैठा हुआ है, जो आपको कह रहे हैं कि यार मैं तुझे नौकरी लगवा देता हूँ या मैं तुझे कुछ कर देता हूँ या फलाना and all of that. So I think with your platform it is solving a lot of those problems. I just think you need better marketing and not a lot of people know about it in Pakistan. So मुझे ये बताओ, what's the future for your startup? How do you see it growing, and क्या future projects क्या हैं pipeline में?
Yep. So a very wholesome topic altogether. What are the future? What does the future behold for a startup that is going through financial times like these? I mean that's a very big question altogether, and I think the very simple answer is that at Curious we are very optimistic in the time that we are in, and what do I mean by that is we are sitting in a once in a decade sort of an opportunity. A recession comes around every decade, unfortunately, but at Curious, I mean, with a lot of great minds now available out in the job market, I mean, acquiring as many users and helping them find their true calling is basically going to help Curious curate a gold mine of a talent base that can be sort of matched to the right opportunities post recession as well. So I think it's about expanding our base to as many users as much as possible, giving the awareness to the right employers on how they can find the right talent, and I mean, growing this exponentially, like you mentioned. I mean, need to do a lot more work on getting the word out there within our focus markets, and essentially take it from there on, right? I mean, there's no replacement to sheer hard work that is going to be required in making it happen,
For sure.
and the consistency of delivery of the value that we need to constantly provide. So that is going to continue, and some of the very interesting projects that are on the way that include a lot of AI topics, like you mentioned, with the new buzzword called ChatGPT. I mean, we have a lot of new exciting projects on the way. One of the very simple tools that just came out is the most interesting piece right now, that I can tell you is a lot of people today are not getting the right job opportunities, not because they're not applying to right opportunities, because a lot of employers are not investing their time in curating the right job description altogether.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of employers, what they do is they find a job, they want to hire for a product manager, they go to some company's product management
Or
job
just
opportunity.
Google it,
They just copy paste.
Copy paste, yeah.
What we have essentially just launched is a very simple tool called AI JD Generator. And what does it do is it takes in a few things about your company. You basically put your own company domain and stuff. You put in a bunch of different fields that you're looking for, or things that you're looking for in that particular
field expertise,
and it creates a job description for you automatically. So great. It's basically a little more curated and a very small step in trying to solve for this matching problem statement.
अच्छा सही है. तो मुझे ये बताओ कि I think I am most probably out of questions. So if there's anything that I had a question. Sorry. So someone who's just starting out, I always ask these questions from entrepreneurs and people like yourself. So someone जो हमें देख रहे हैं इस वक्त, जिसने 16 साल का है, 15 साल का, whatever, and they want to be an entrepreneur or they want to be a problem solver, what advice would you give to them?
Man, it's like speaking as like a broken record for most part. I constantly tell people the same thing, which is keep learning from people around you. Keep learning from anyone and everyone. It doesn't have to be someone who is super successful. It can be people who are filled with failures right around you, because those people are the best people to learn from what not to do. You can learn from people within the same social economic classes. You can learn from people who are not in the same socio-economic classes. You can
Yeah.
learn from people in completely different domains, completely irrelevant from you, but constantly learn. But on top of it, the most important is give back. A lot of people can learn from your experience as well, and you may not
Yes.
think that you have any experience to share, but you have a lot to share. Everyone has a lot to share. So the more you share, the more you can learn. And at the end of the day, the more dialogue we have, the better we are going to be as individuals and more informed.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Any concluding remarks? Anything that I missed out? This is your chance.
No, I think this has been really, really helpful, and thank you so much, Hamza, for hosting me. And a big fan of what all of you podcasters have been sort of building. It's not only about. I think it teaches us two main important skills. One is bringing out the right narrative of or the true narrative, which is unfiltered for most part. So I
Yeah.
think that is the most important thing. And the second part is each one of you podcasters or whoever is trying to build one right now is creating their own personal brand and has a skill to offer. And I think this is the true sense of entrepreneurship. And it shows you how easy entrepreneurship can be if you actually try and be consistent on it. So kudos to you and people within your cohort who are doing some of the biggest changes that Pakistan or the media industry has gone through. So thank you so much for that.
नो वरीज मेरा सिर्फ हमारे फेलो पॉडकास्टर से गिला शिकवा है, तो चलो मैं नहीं कहूँगा, बट देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ऑन जस्ट पॉलिटिक्स, ऑल्दो दैट हैज इम्प्रूव्ड. आई कंप्लीटली एग्री के उसको भी जरूरत थी, बट लाइक आई मीन कम ऑन यार, देयर इज सो मच एल्स टू टॉक अबाउट, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आई नेवर वांट टू गो इनटू पॉलिटिक्स. लाइक इट्स फॉर मी, I'm like, yeah, ठीक है, everyone's doing it, and पाकिस्तान देखता भी से पॉलिटिक्स ही है. That's the worst part of it. तो views मुझे उस तरह नहीं पड़ते, but I think for me it's more like let's talk with people like yourself, or others who are going through a struggle as well, and they've struggled as well. They have their own stories and their ideas and their experiences and their learnings to share, जिससे कोई किसी को कुछ फायदा हो जाए. अब ये कि मतलब वही नैरेटिव चल रहा है कि यार अच्छा ज़ियाउल हक आपके अब्बू हैं, या यूब खान आपके अब्बू हैं, या मुशर्रफ आपके अब्बू, मतलब यार कम ऑन. आई मीन तुम द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम दैट आई हैव विद पॉलिटिक्स, राइट, इज या तो हमारे बड़े अच्छे पॉलिटिशियंस निकल रहे होते या एनालिस्ट निकल रहे होते, सही है, बिकॉज सो मच इज बीइंग कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड ऑन the time and the screaming and the energy that's going into 20 or 30 news channels and whatever 10-15 podcasts and whatnot. फिर भी कोई बहुत अच्छे पॉलिटिशियन नहीं निकल रहे. मे बी अगली क्रॉप निकलेगी शायद, आई डोंट नो, बट एनालिस्ट भी बहुत अच्छी नहीं. कोई मुझे ना, मेरा मसला है कि कोई लायक बंदे लेके आओ, कोई काबिल बंदे लेके आओ, कोई किसी भी जगह पे, जैसा इवन विद रियल एस्टेट वी हैव सो मच फोकस ऑन रियल एस्टेट इन दिस कंट्री, के प्लॉट कर लें, ये कर लें, वो कर लें, बट वी डोंट हैव अ सिटी लाइक दुबई, वी डोंट हैव अ सिटी लाइक अबू धाबी इवन, राइट. अगर रियल एस्टेट के आप इतने ही चैंपियन थे, सही है, तो आप मुझे एक ऐसा शहर बना के देते या कोई ऐसी इंजीनियरिंग मार्वल्स दिखाते हैं मुझे कि मैं कहता यार क्या बात है तुम्हारी. आपने क्या बनाया? आपने घर बना लिए आपने प्लॉट के गेट बना लिए. सो फॉर मी this is my way of saying yes, there are better Pakistanis, they are more Kabil people, but they don't get the media attention or the
it's a
exposure.
process, right?
Yeah.
And this is where the other day I was thinking about how even in all of this there is a thing or two that we can learn from the media industry overall. And I'm putting everyone in the media industry, the media houses, the
YouTubers,
YouTubers, everyone within this.
Yeah.
All of us can sort of learn from the politics or political structure altogether as well. There's an international political structure, then there is on a country level, then there is on a provincial, then there's on a city level, and then Baldiyat level. So I mean, you have a lot of different tiers or different segments in which you are sort of policy making as well. At the same level, media industry could do the same, or at least highlight the problems of that each particular level, and each one could essentially focus on that niche altogether.
Yeah,
And
for
if we
sure.
start doing that, we will be highlighting the do's and don'ts all across and learnings from all across the spectrum. And I think
Yeah,
that might really help. But I mean, it's constant learning if all of us want to sort of find the right opportunities out there.
yeah, for sure. Thank you
Just
so much, Osama, for your time. This was an absolute pleasure, and I wish you best of luck for your venture. And inshallah, we
likewise.
can
Thank you
maybe
so
we can
much.
collaborate sometime.
For sure, for sure.
Okay.
I'd love to meet you in person
Okay.
as well. Thank you.
So take care.
Take care. Bye.